And we're live.
Hello. Hi, Tanja. Hi, Tim.
And this week we have Tanja, who is somebody I met at Sharing Social London in, I think it was about March. Well, no, it was about October last year sometime.
Yeah,
pre-COVID. And she's a woman with a international working background and also an author. Voted something like Central European Woman of the Year or something along those lines, which we'll go on to later. And she's quite an amazingly talented person. So can we start off with you basically just describing like all the places you've lived and worked and a little bit about what your feeling is about, say, Croatia, the US and the UK.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you so much for the lovely introduction, Tim. I love to see watch in retrospect everything what I've done and everywhere that I've traveled and lived. It was definitely a very useful experience, and I'll try to draw some mutual line and learning points from it. So basically, I've lived most of my life in Croatia. I'm from Croatia, so I've lived in Zagreb, and I've also lived for 3 years in Dubrovnik, where I did my bachelor's degree in PR. And also I've spent some time in the States. I've got my MBA in States, and I also lived in Chicago for a certain period of time. I was part of US government program that was much more focused in women empowerment, technology, and entrepreneurship. So I was working on creating digital strategies for small women-owned businesses. And I was involved with the amazing World Chicago organization who provided us with a lot of education opportunities and a lot of visits to very impressive companies and people. And I've created a huge network of US contacts thanks to them. So I'm very grateful for that. But 30s hit me hard, and then I've decided I want to live in London. I want to move to London. So I made that decision. So my birthday was December 9th. So last year, 30th birthday, I've decided, okay, I'm going to move to London. And I always wanted to live in London ever since I was a little girl. I had my vision board with photos from London and everything else. I had no idea why. I just wanted to move here and to live here. And I've visited all the time. I've worked, I've had several clients here, and I was just waiting for the right timing to move. And of course, 2020, I guess, was the perfect timing for me, not for the world, but for me. So I decided to move here in 2020. And yeah, it was a crazy ride, to be honest. I was just starting to make new contacts and building business and everything else. And then lockdown came, but then of course it helped me work much more on myself and create better positioning and offering. To sum up all my experiences from the States and from Croatia and from the UK, I love to say that I've specialized in digital strategy, and I realized that on all three markets, it's really you cannot compare the size of the market and everything else, but you can notice the importance of digital channels and social media and how you can create a huge impact with smaller budgets, much smaller budgets, if you have an interesting story to tell, if you are connecting with the right audiences, if you are being authentic and finding your unique voice. So I would draw that similar line with everything. And basically my experience was working with a lot of independent agencies, but also I was working independently for different big brands such as American Express, such as Adidas, Heineken, a lot of big brands. But also I've used it to help me gain some kind of experience to draw from, and also help small startups, businesses, coaches to scale their own brands. So using the same knowledge, the same techniques, just on a smaller level, lower level, and then helping them scale up quickly. And it helped me create a much bigger impact. And I found my purpose doing that. Just seeing somebody rise up from ground up, building something big, especially when it has some kind of larger purpose. So yeah, I've talked a lot. So back to you.
Yeah. So, I mean, part of your recent story is you were really unlucky with, like, you obviously moved to the UK last December. And then, like, obviously you've got until March and you're happily wandering around London, doing everything, going everywhere. And I know you're quite an extrovert in terms of your personality. So, like, just how hard has lockdown been for you? And obviously now you're working for a small startup company doing their marketing. Can you talk a little bit about what sort of personal journey you had during the lockdown, and also talk a bit about your new company and give them a little bit of publicity while you're here?
Of course, yeah. So basically, when I moved here, everything was going super well for me. I got like several partnerships established. I've got tons of clients. It was really good. And then when the lockdown came, everything stopped, and everybody canceled the contracts they had with me because I was the last one they signed on. Yeah. And it was terrifying, but at the same time, I've decided to stop and focus much more on myself, because for the last 4 years that I've been working independently, I was always like aiming for something bigger, better. Like I never had the time to catch up with myself, with what I truly want and what is my purpose. I was just like going on a lot of events, doing with a lot of people. I've kind of stopped taking care of myself. And lockdown helped me, really, COVID, to get back to my health, to get back to establish some great health routine, to start walking more, to start meditating every day, reading books that I've stockpiled and everything else. So I think it has been, for looking back on it, I would never change anything. I think it happened like perfectly for me, really. Yeah. And yeah, but I surprised myself, to be honest. I surprised myself how well I took it, because I'm a complete extrovert. I used to go on like at least like 3 to 4 events during the week, and now this year is like 0 events, which was insane. Yeah. And yeah, especially like before London, when I lived in Chicago, I used to go like on 2 events or meetings or drinks or anything else during the day. And then suddenly, like, here's like nothing, like no supply. Like I was like left hanging. It was tough, but at the same time, I was much more focused on building much more meaningful connections. So I had a lot of video, Zoom calls, everything else with clients and everybody else. But yeah, I've had clients and I've worked on some strategies and everything else, but I figured sometimes when you build your own business, it gets lonely at some point, especially during the lockdown. So I've been doing like a lot of, I would say, gigs through the last 4 years. I did a lot of events, a lot of digital strategies, a lot of huge corporate clients, government clients. So a lot of different profiles of clients. And then I realized I'm there to create a small piece, and then I'm out. So I'm not contributing to something bigger. And then this amazing opportunity came for me, Rising Startup, who was established and founded during the lockdown, which was amazing. So it's a platform that connects startups, investors, and non-executive directors. And it basically gives them highly relevant opportunities to connect and to invest, to grow their businesses, also providing educational content and helping them upskill and position themselves on the market. And I was really blown off with the enthusiasm of the founders, of the entire team, to be honest. And I'm like, I want to be part of that. I want to be part of something bigger, growing something that will stand and expand and get new hires and get global maybe in the future and everything else. So I'm kind of happy with my choices. It was tricky because I was an entrepreneur for the last 4 years. But at the same time, it's so dynamic because it's a startup that it really never, it's not boring. I'm here like 3 weeks in, and it's not boring at all. So I see myself doing it for a longer time. It's not like a desk job or anything else. So I'm super, super happy and blessed to have that opportunity.
I love that. Tanja, something that we discussed that's very important to you is woman empowerment. And this is intriguing to me because you've lived around the world. Will you describe why woman empowerment is so important and how that plays into your role around the world and women's roles around the world?
Yeah. So basically, when men hear about women empowerment, they feel like it's something against them, campaign against men. It's definitely not. It's for women, because we were not raised to be ambitious, to be strong, to speak good about ourselves. We were raised to stay in the background and do the background work. And I had my own transformational story around it. So I was raised to work hard, to keep my head down, to do a lot of work and never take recognition of anything. And then somehow it built up inside me. That was while I was working in Croatia for some like huge brands and agencies and everybody else. I was really the background person, and only my immediate mentor knew what I was doing. So nobody else in the company had no idea. They just saw the back of my head typing on a computer and everything else. And that's how, that's what inspired my book. So it's like Be the Boss of Your Life, to start promoting myself more, start speaking about myself more. And I've noticed in my immediate surrounding is like almost every woman behaved that way. And those who didn't, they were like imitating men. So they didn't develop their own leadership style.
Yeah.
They weren't in touch with their femininity, but they became cold. They became so it kind of like gave other young women an impression that if I want to be successful, I need to become a man. I need to be a man in a skirt. And I need to portray like never to have emotions or anything else. And then I realized, okay, somebody needs to get this message across. And in Croatia, we're a small market and nobody talks about anything wrong. So all is perfect, all is well. And then I started there my own platform where I started talking about my experiences and everything else, trying to connect with women who felt the same way. And I've also organized a huge conference with 500 participants, leaders from all the region, women, called The Art of Feminine Leadership. And based on that, I was awarded for the huge impact in ecosystem. I was awarded with Female Role Model of the Year for Central European Startup Awards. And it was a huge recognition. It came last year while I was in the States, but it meant a lot because at least I feel like somehow I contributed to give more role models to young women. Because on that conference, I've handpicked every speaker, and I did that by asking their employees, how did they feel about them working with that person and everything else. So it was based on solely leadership styles. And it was a very interesting thing to do, because usually you see a lot of successful women, but their team members are really not happy with them.
Yeah.
They don't feel very good, very relaxed. They can't feel that they can contribute and grow underneath them. So I made my own like personal mission. Okay, let's find those true women leaders, female leaders, because if you can't see something, you cannot become that person. If you cannot see the role models around you, you feel like it's impossible. So and the same thing I've noticed in the US and also in the UK, that we definitely need a lot more good examples, because everybody now, women empowerment is a huge thing. Everybody's talking about it. But until we start seeing some real great examples, we won't be changing anything. It will be just talk and taking nice photos, photo op with companies, with sponsorships and everything else. But if we want real change, we need to start like immediately with presenting role models and mentorship. I think that's the key thing to do.
What do you think are some of the key traits that, or let me ask this differently. What are key traits that you look for in women in leadership?
The opportunity to like give to everybody inside the team to recognize their talent and the ability to develop that talent. Because what we usually see is people get promoted on their technical skills, on their hard skills, on how good they are at their jobs. But when you go up, advancing in your career, you realize that it's much more about people, how good you are at managing people. So if you're not good at that, there's no way you can be a good leader. You're just making feel other around you like stressed, and maybe you can just take their recognition, take everything away from them. And there are a lot of bad examples for it. I'm sorry to say that, but there are plenty of bad examples. I think you've also experienced it in your careers and everything else. So I feel definitely that the ability to lead with kind of empathy, intuition, to try to see the bigger picture and to lead based on that bigger picture, not what somebody currently has, but the potential of that person, and maybe directing some tasks, directing some roles to that person in order to develop it, and not just to see like I need this immediately, not to have people as being used as tools, but much more as a potential to grow.
Tell us about the conference that you're putting together. Is that only in Croatia or is it international?
It's in Croatia, but we do have international speakers. We will have next year a conference in March 25th. And I'm happy to confirm Ellen Rogan. She's from Chicago. She will be our keynote speaker. She's a best-selling author, and she will be talking about much more about women and their relationship with money, how we're not very comfortable with bragging around our earnings, and how we don't feel comfortable earning more. And yeah, so and I will also have Laura Tynan from the UK. She will also be talking much more about how to own your feminine leadership traits and how to sit at the big financial companies and still be a woman in the board.
Okay, I would like for you to pick up your book one more time. Tell us the title and your inspiration, a little bit more in depth about your book. And I love the cover, by the way.
Yeah,
it's in Croatian, though, so
yeah, it's in Croatian, but I'd still love to hear your inspiration behind
it's in color and size. So
oh, I love it.
Yeah. So basically, the book was made through, I've started like an online blog platform where I wrote through entire, like it was 365 days. I wrote posts, and it was the collection of the most read posts, like put together, curated to make a good story of like 1 year of transformation. And every step that you need to go through to change your mindset, to start owning your life story, all the obstacles, all the changes inside your relationships, inside everything that you go through, how to deal with all those things. Because I've made a huge transformation back then in my life. I've really turned from like a low wage employee to a successful business owner, and it took took away a lot of like my friends, my acquaintances. I've moved to another part of the city. I've changed everything, my social circle and everything else, and it definitely impacted there were a lot of hurdles and obstacles, and inside this book I'm covering them all. I'm saying how to deal with it. And the book is still like, it was published in 2018, but it's still a best-selling book in Croatia. And I get almost daily, I get emails from women saying like, oh my God, you described like exactly how I feel, and I needed this. So I can always come back to it. I can always open a line of book or a quote. I've used several quotes on these pages. And it makes me feel better, and it makes me motivated and inspired and everything else. So I'm happy I've had that impact. It was never for me about like, I don't know, making big money around it or being famous around it or anything else. It's much more about offering somebody like very personalized insight, and to be very honest, like having heart-to-heart conversation with the reader. And I know on like big markets, you find a lot of authors like that. But in Croatia, not everybody is like used to speaking very honestly from the bottom of their hearts. And I think I've revolutionized the market by doing that.
Yeah. Can I ask you, we have talked about this in the past, but can you talk a little bit about the differences in culture between the US, the UK and Croatia in terms of like what you've noticed in terms of the personality and sort of mindset?
Yeah. In Croatia, I think at first we're a bit conservative when it comes to making new contacts. So what surprises people about me is that I'm very like extroverted, open-minded, very, very like open, and they don't have that kind of experience with Croatians, because with Croatians, they try to get to know you better first, they evaluate you, and then they let you in. But when they let you in, it's like a crazy ride. You have unlimited drinks, unlimited food. It's like amazing, the best thing ever. And in States, I was very, 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 I would say, impressed really with how well you embrace like new people around, and how you make everybody feel welcome and part of the. It's like nobody ever asked me like, where are you originally from? What do you do? So it's just always like I was living there all the time for all my life. And it was much more focused on my interest, on different things that I do, on my passions and everything else. And I loved really being very connected. So I think I've made the most connections in the States while I was there. In the UK, there I would say a bridge between Croatians and Americans. They also evaluate you, which somehow I appreciate, because once you get that connection, you know that you've been vetted, that you've been like through something. Now it's a real connection. So it's harder to make connections in the UK. They look at your background, they look at everything about you, and it's like kind of evaluate. You see them scanning you and everything else. But at the same time, once you get that connection, it's a really valuable one, and you can achieve a lot of things, and it's something long term. So those are kind of like differences and everything else. But yeah, obviously every market, and I wouldn't generalize with different personality types and everything else. I believe we're all different, and we're all just human and everything else. But I say like much more culturally, how we approach new things and new experiences. I definitely love how in States, like everybody was super open and accepting, and I felt like I suddenly became best friends with hundreds of people, which was really good. Made you feel at home and relaxed and accepted, know that you're good the way you are, and everything else. But yeah, UK a little puts you up the test, but it's a good thing to challenge you and to make you present yourself better and make you do much more. So yeah, I wouldn't say any of it is bad. I'm just saying it's like different approaches to things.
Traveling. Where is that your favorite place to travel? Where's your favorite place that you've been around the world, and why?
For me, there are like two places that really took my breath away. It was Cappadocia in Turkey, the famous balloon ride. So it was, I didn't really expect it to be that amazing. They take you like in a sketchy van or something. They take you like 4 a.m. They take you into the mountains or everything else. You're really afraid for your life. And then you go on that balloon and you experience the most like amazing sunrise when you get to a point where you're at the same line with the sun rising up. And it's like the amazing like experience of inner peace, of everything else, of like a beautiful, beautiful view, and something like I will never forget that really amazing experience. It really blew me away. And the second one is I've loved Portugal. Also didn't expect so much of it, because we were doing some like crazy tour. We rented a car, we did the entire southern Europe, and we ended up like a bit more in Portugal and everything else. And it was our last stop. I really didn't expect much, but it took my breath away with how approachable people were, how much they are like, they have like the dedicated streets that are just for like meeting new people, just for like having a casual conversation. And it's not like flirting or in that way. And it's much more about establishing a great connections, friendships, because they have in that street, they have their like the small bars that are like so small that they just have like, you can just take drinks and that's it. And you're standing outside talking to other people. They encourage you to speak to other people. And I loved it. We went out every single night and I met so many people. It was amazing. The weather and everything else was super, super fun. But I truly believe that where we go really impacts like who we go with and what the surrounding, what's the social angle of everything. And I've loved the social part of Portugal, definitely. So all recommendations to that. But yeah, when I think about the countries I visited the most, that's definitely Spain comes to like number one. I think I've been there like 10 times. Not including London and UK. I've been here 20 times. But yes, I kind of love that spirit of being like a bit carefree, passionate, and just connecting with different people. It kind of takes the edge off and gives you time to explore and relax. I've also visited Dubai, but I was much more impressed with Abu Dhabi. It gave me some kind of cultural aspect, much stronger. And I fall in love with places who have a soul to it. So I was really impressed with Abu Dhabi. Also a big recommendation for everyone. If you're considering, of course, now it's really heartbreaking to talk about travel.
I know.
Yeah. I see you like in your eyes, the sadness, like, oh my God. Yeah.
We want to go.
Yeah, exactly. But hopefully next year and we can explore more. And yeah, I was supposed to like go to Singapore this year and visit much more Asian also part and everything else. But yeah, unfortunately, but yeah, it helped me discover myself more, which I think is much more valuable long term. And then I will bring myself to some amazing travel adventures next year.
I'm going to be the responsible adult and tell Christelle that she's got to go to work, which is why we rearranged the time.
I have to get to work. Tanja, where can we find you online really quickly?
So you can find me on all social media, obviously. So I'm on Instagram, Tanja.digital. Tim has put it here everywhere. Also on LinkedIn. So Tanja, DZIDO. I know my last name is kind of tricky to pronounce and write and everything else. But yeah, I think when you just TANJA use, I think that's a point of differentiation. I will brand that name.
It is pronounced Tanja, though, isn't it? It's just Tanja. Yeah,
exactly. So you can find me when you type in Tanja. You can find me on Google. You can Google me and everything else. There are not many Tanjas on this market. So basically, just Google me and connect with me. I'm very happy to connect with everybody. I love making new friends, new connections, and happy to help in any way that I can. So my expertise in digital strategy and personal branding. So if there's any way I can help you out, I'm here for you. So yeah, just reach out and let me know.
So nice to meet you, Tanja. Thank you for being here and chatting with us. I'm blown away by your experiences. Thank you for empowering women and giving us that neat word and kind of reminding us we can do whatever we want. And Tim, thank you for the reminder. I have to get going.
And thanks for being on the show, Tanja. I'm going to play the outro now. So
bye. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Tim's phone. Hi, Tim.
This is terrifying for me.
I've made more money in the last 3 years than I did in the previous. I had 7.
It's cliche shit, you know.